That's why today I want to try this new format that mixes technical, educational, interactive content. You will have the opportunity to answer some questions about React, Redux, and Next.js. The goal is not to see who is the best in this room, but it's just a new way to share content and information. So, I and my friend Matteo Dazzi have created this tool for this event in about 3 weeks. So there are some small problems. And this is the first time I try it with more than 20, 30 people. So, cross the finger, and because anything can go wrong. So, this is a good presentation, I think, for this tool. Anyway, you have to connect, you can connect to this QR code, or by using the link, and join this session. Or just follow, because you will see, I will show you some questions, but after that I will explain the topic. Okay, so let's go. Let's go, doesn't work so well. Okay. Perfect. There is a problem. The problem probably is with the network. Okay. Let's go. Okay. Just a second. This works. My tool doesn't work. Okay, perfect. Just a second. Okay. Okay, it didn't work so well. Just a second, let me try one more stuff. Oops. It should be fine. Okay. The first slide is shown. Okay, no. Just a... My God. Okay, I can switch with the plan B. Plan B. Everything is very slow. Let me switch Wi-Fi. Just a second, guys. Somebody have a joke to say in the meanwhile? Please help. It was a nice talk. Believe me. But there is some problem with the connection. Somebody of you can share with me an hotspot. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. No, it's work.
Okay, you want to hear a joke? I mean...
Non so, anche non capisco. Okay. It's not a Wi-Fi problem. I have developed the front end. If the let's go doesn't work, I can do a lot of... Perché? Sorry? Sorry? The first slide. The first slide. Okay. Probably the next talk will be first than when scheduled. Niente, sorry. That's a real problem. I want to try a new session in disconnect your, close the page of my application. We can try. Is everything? I'm sorry, guys, folks. Have to restart? Yes, we have to restart Azure.
Pair programming.
Okay.
Pocket base.
Pocket base. The backend is written in Go. By using Pocket base, let me get here the quiz server.
Failed. Oh no.
Restart.
Delete it.
Delete, not delete. Okay. View details. Server crashing. View logs recommended.
Restart.
Okay.
Yeah, logs.
It's not the right moment to see the logs now.
No, provo col cellulare. Because there are many people inside the Wi-Fi.
Sì, però
But even if the Wi-Fi is fine, it's crashed.
come deve qua restart di sto quit server qua?
Time for a joke.
Probabilmente the container.
Why do developers keep pressing the F5 button? Why do developers
Sì,
keep
dov'è
pressing
dov'è
F5?
qua? Container.
Because it's refreshing. Now you get to decide which one is worse, the one where nothing works or the one where... Does anyone else know a joke? Why is the pressure on me? Huh? Anyone know a joke? A good developer joke? Oh, where? Where? Oh, there? Okay, let's do it.
For the container.
This guy's so confident. I love it. It's going to be a nice joke.
This is an old joke. Probably you all know it already. Do you know why Java developers don't wear glasses?
Java developers don't wear glasses. Anyone? Oh, he knows. Scream. They can't see sharp. Nice. Some big distance edge computing happening here. That's so good, man. They can't. Thank you. What's your name? Claudio. Claudio. Of course it's Claudio. And your name is? Paolo. How many Paolos in the room? Is that a common Italian name? Okay. He's like, I'm not sure.
Comunque non va.
That's a great joke.
Forse bisogna
What
un
is
po' di
the
tempo per...
most used language in programming? Sorry, this guy like, sorry, what? I have a microphone. Yeah, okay. The most used language in programming. Not to you, to everybody, man. English? No. It is profanity. Bad language. Okay, I'm running out of jokes, guys. How's this? Final one, maybe.
Yeah. Sto chiedendo
What is
al
the
backend.
what is the CSS used to describe my wife? All of you going like, oh, he's about to get in trouble. Oh, he. But in Man, this guy, who said that? This guy's savage. He's like, I did it proudly. You had your hand up back there. What is display none? Actually, accurate. And I was going to be kind. It was just right 100% of the time. Okay, not so much. You liked width 100% more. Horrible. You're horrible people. What is that code of conduct? We should enforce it for everybody. Julia, let's kick them all out. Is this working yet? What's happening? He's in the console again? One user. Okay, let's go. Oh, okay.
Okay.
One user can play the game.
Yeah.
Let's enjoy. Give it up for Fabio one more time.
I'm
everybody.
sorry. Okay. The backender fixed the problem. Anyway, we have to use the plan B. Raise your hand. Okay. Oh, okay. Just a second. One more second. Okay. I was not ready. Okay. So, I'm Fabio Biondi, and my job should be help developers and teams to improve their skill in the front-end world, especially in the Angular and React ecosystem. I'm a Google developer expert in Angular, but I'm not a fanboy. In fact, I'm here at the React Day in this situation. And I'm Microsoft MVP in the category developer technology. Anyway, you can find me in a lot of social. I have some communities with about 50,000 people in JavaScript Developer Italiani, Angular, React. There are community on Facebook, Telegram, and so on. You can find all the links in my website. Okay. That's not important anymore. This was an explanation to how to use the tool. Okay. So, we all know the answer. Okay. It was just a... So, the first question was about React, Redux, and TypeScript, while the second part of the session should be about next React server component. The real goal of this session was not to find the best developer in the room, but just share with you some tricks and new features in the React ecosystem. So let me start with a question about React and TypeScript. This is nothing complex, but includes several tricks that I think that are interesting to create amazing, flexible, reusable component in UIKit. So you have to raise your hand. Okay. Which is the best and more flexible way to define my button component that should accept an icon property, custom icon property, and all the button properties and attributes. The first example, the A, is just an intersection between... This is not my fault. Okay. In this example, in the first example, I create just an intersection between the icon, an object with an icon property, and the HTML button element. The second approach, B, is just a more complex intersection type. In the last solution, I add one by one all the properties the component needs. In your opinion, no, I don't know how to do this stuff. Who think is the A, the B, C? Okay, somebody is missing in this. Anyway, the last approach can work fine, but it's not very flexible because I have to add one by one every property. The first approach is wrong because it doesn't handle children. For example, the label is not supported. And the solution B is the right one. Let me show you why. Maybe. Okay. Anyway, it works fine with one user. This is a great goal. Okay. This is how I use the button. For example, this button accepts icon, title, on click, on mouse over. It should support every property. And how it works. My button simply accept property of type button props. Button props is an intersection of several types. Props with children is just an intersection that combine a children props with the type we have passed as generic here. So thanks to this, we have the children props. And after this, we also combined my button props, that is the custom object, the custom type, where we can add all the custom properties we need. And the last option, the last type, is the React button HTML attribute that allow us to add all the properties and attributes of a button element. One more stuff, in the component, we use destructuring to extract icon and children that are used in the JSX template to show the icon and the label in this case, and all the other properties are on the rest property that is applied here by using the spread operator. This is very comfortable because in just one line we can add all the properties that are taken from the rest property. I think this is great. This trick, as I said, very comfortable, and I miss it a lot in framework that doesn't support JSX like Angular, for example. Anyway, this was just the first question. Now we will explore a lot of new API of React, and next. How many of you are using Redux today? Okay. I love Redux. That is the most used state manager in React ecosystem since the beginning. Redux Toolkit, the more recent Redux Toolkit query, offers several utilities to simplify its use. And today I want to show you the create API function. How many of you use the create API? This is really new. Okay. Okay. So the question was, how can we use user API into a React component? As you can see, I'm using the create API of Redux Toolkit query, where I can specify the path name of the reducer, the base URL of our API, and several endpoints. Here we can see a simple get that fetches some user. How can we use it? The first solution just use the get users query exposed by the create API to get data, error, and pending state. Or we can use selector passing our query as parameter, and the same, but we invoke the query function. A, raise your hand. B, C, the other one, don't think anything. Okay, anyway, the answer is A, and it's very similar to React Tanstack query or React query. The difference is that Redux is a global state manager, so it also populates a global store and with the result of the query, and we also be available across all the application to be used in other components or in other selector. Some people say that Redux is dead. No? No? Yeah? Okay. But in the real life, a lot of companies are still using Redux. For example, do you know Stack Blitz? What state manager use Stack Blitz? Okay, it's Redux. Just open the dev tool, you will see everything that everything that is or every action that is dispatched from the tool. Just to make an example that you use probably every day. Anyway, a lot of companies use Redux to handle complex UI, and I just wrote this question. It was a question, but I wrote this question to see how easy is now create something in Redux without the need to use to create manually reducer or use tanks, sagas, selector, and so on. Now, with just one API, you can do more or less the same job. Of course, you can always create a reducer action from scratch, but the boilerplate anyway is much simpler than some years ago. There are utilities to simplify the code. We don't need containers anymore, and so on. For example, the create API can do more. It allows you to define multiple endpoints in one place, and each endpoint can also transform data before saving them into the store. And you can also set the amount of seconds that my data should be in cache. In this example, the cache is invalidated after 5 seconds. And a lot of other stuff. For example, another way to handle the cache is providing a tag to a specific endpoint. For example, provide tags user. And we can define a mutation, in this case, the delete, that invalidate the cache. So when we do a delete, we invalidate automatically the cache, and get user is called again. Okay. I know that probably most of you don't like Redux because it's complex. Probably this is the main reason. But Redux is a well-known pattern. More or less every React developer should know it. Impose some discipline, and Redux dev tool is amazing, really useful for debugging, and usually this is the main reason I use Redux in my application. If you have never used Redux, I really suggest to see it or give another chance to this library, because it's very simple and powerful now. Of course, you can use context, or probably it's better that you don't use context. Anyway, too many renders. Or microstate manager as Zustand. Do you use Zustand? Valsio, Recoil, Yotai, or Jotai, and so on. But Redux, in my opinion, really simplify our job when we have to deal complex scenario. We don't have to use always Redux, but for complex scenario is, in my opinion, one of the best solutions in the React ecosystem. And in Angular too with NGRX. Anyway, how many of you know the new use hook? Okay, it's just a proposal, and probably we see it in the next React version. Why we need this hook? The new server component, and we will talk about it later, if I have time, use a standard async await to fetch data on server. But the limitation of server component is that we cannot use the React hooks and interactive stuff inside them. This hook is very similar, will be very similar, but can be used in client components. Which of the following syntax is not supported by this new use hook? All these questions, the interesting part is that all these questions are valid except one. In the first solution, then now, since there is no quiz anymore, I can say this is valid, this is right. In the first solution, we pass a promise to the use hook. The promise is get post, as you can see from this note. Okay. The new hook allow you to unwrap the promise, the value of the promise, and get the value. We can say that it's designed to provide much more or less the same experience, the same programming model of async await, but in React. If the promise hasn't finished loading, the use suspend the component execution. When the promise finally resolve, React will replay the component render. In fact, unlike the classic async await, a suspended component does not resume from the same point, but the runtime must re-execute the code in between the beginning of the component. Okay, B. This is another interesting part. This new hook has a special ability to that other hook do not. Call can be nested inside condition, loop, and blocks. This allows you to conditionally wait for data without, for example, splitting the component into multiple components. The reason the use hook is allowed to be called conditionally is that, unlike most other hooks, it doesn't need to track state updates. In fact, use doesn't need to store any data, while normal hooks usually need to be executed in the same position during every render, so that React can associate it with the previous state. And this is not needed from this new hook. And what about loops? As I said, it's possible to use this hook inside a loop, for example, some for or map. Not the map. In fact, the right answer is C. D is wrong. The problem of the last answer is that the hook is used inside the closure, while the C, the third answer, is not. So it's not possible. To use. This use hook can be used only if the closure is a component or another hook itself. So it's very interesting. It's just a proposal, but probably we'll see in the next React version. Okay, Core Web Vitals and IMP. What are Core Web Vitals? Are a set of metrics that Google uses to decide if your site has a good experience, is SEO-friendly, check the performance, accessibility, and so on. The IMP is the interaction to next paint metric, is one of the newest and the most important Core Web Vital metric to know or to check, to understand how much our application is responsive to user interaction, I mean mouse or keyboard event. The question always was, which of the following methods can be used to improve the IMP value? The component, just let me explain what is the component. Because this component has two states. The first one, text, is just the text we want to search. The users is just a list of users. The get filtered is a derived state that just filter users by searching the text we are looking for. And we invoke it here, we pass it into the component. Now, how can we write the set filter function in order to get the best result in the IMP value? We can simply set the state with set text, or using set transition, or set timeout. A, B, C. Okay. The C was the right answer. Let me show you why. Okay. IMP is a Core Web Vital metric that allows you to know, as I said, how much a page is responsive to user interaction by observing the latency of click, taps, and keyboard interaction. There are other useful metrics to know similar value, for example, the IFD or the first input delay, but its value depends on when the user clicks on the interface and if the main thread is blocked or not, so it's not very accurate. So Google added recently this new metric that probably will be the most used, the most important in the future to evaluate how your site works, the performance of your site. But how this value is calculated? Through a Google data collection of your site. To get IMP value on your machine, for example, you can start Lighthouse, but not simply with navigation start, but by using the time span, as I did here. Okay, time span. So we can record just some time when we use the application. Okay. In fact, as you can see, the IMP value is about 2 seconds. And the problem is, probably you have already got this problem, is when we write something in the text, we have some delay. For example, here, when I delete, oops, but character in one place. So we have some problems in the performance of our application. So how can we fix this? For example, the second solution was start transition. Start transition allow you to improve the performance for sure. How? This hook can be used to mark the state update as transition. If we update the text filter state while the list is in the middle of the render, React will restart the render work on the list after handling the input update. So the priority is the input update. And the result is that the user experience will be less slowed down when typing. If you don't know this hook, I really suggest to use the documentation about start transition and use transition on react.dev. And but the result is better. We get about 1 second. It was 2 seconds. Now it is less than 1 second, and we can do much better. Probably by using the, oops. Let me show this slide, the next one, since I don't have a lot of time. Probably use the less elegant solution between these three answers. This is a mix of start transition and a simple debounce created with set timeout. We simply avoid to update the state until the user ends to digit something in the text field. And the improvement is great, 100 milliseconds. And this is green, and this is important, this is green. And in conclusion, even if today we have several components and the new hydration strategy that really improve the loading speed of the page, we always should keep in mind that the IMP parameter is very important for Google to evaluate, to assign a score to your site, and probably to get better result in the search engine. Okay. One more stuff. Okay. Anyway, you can also calculate the IMP and all core Web Vitals metrics by using the Web Vitals package in your application. As you can see from the screen, we have some reports. In this case, the large count full pane, the first input delay, and the cumulative layout shift. But we don't see the IMP just because to get this value, I have to write something in the input. Another interesting and probably not a lot of you know it is a cool website that is Google Crux or Crux. Do you know it? The name is Chrome UX Report. This site collects all user interaction of your site and provide all the metrics you need to evaluate the performance of your site. Just go in the Crux website dashboard, put your site, and you will see the result. Okay. Now we can start with next and server component. I don't have a lot of time. Can I get 5 minutes more? My yes. Okay. Anyway, let me introduce what you can do with Next now. You can easily mix server components which are pre-rendered on server and client components that, of course, are client-side components, just like the previous React component. Server components are similar to server-side rendering, but localize it to individual component. Client component is just what you do in React since years. As you can see in the screen, navbar, articles, and news are rendered on server because probably it needs performance, SEO, and they can be loaded before the other information. Some of these components are static, just like the navbar. News can fetch data from a database. Anyway, they are rendered server-side. Other components, just like search, Google Map, and newsletter, need client-side script, and they are rendered on client. So the question was how we can fetch data in the React server component and Next 13. Here we can see that we have an async component. This is the way we can define the server component, and the blank space with these yellow symbols. And here we render the list. The first solution is wrong because this approach is client-side, is used by client component to fetch data when the component is mounted. But React server component doesn't support hook, so it doesn't support document on browser API, so you cannot use this approach. The second solution can seem right, but because it's very similar to React query or Redux toolkit query, but there are other ways in Next to handle error and loading state. C and D are very similar. The right one is the C answer because we have to await. It's important to know that this await completely stop the render of the page. So if here we have 3 or 4 await, we have to await all the promise completion before to see something in the page. So it's not a good solution, but we can do better. Here, the question was how can we avoid the render block, but in the meantime see some content and have a single component with a separated loading state, and that can be loaded after the first render. Okay, the right solution was the last one. Okay, in this case we can just get post, pass this result without a wait. It's important, without a wait. Wrap our component in the suspense component, also handle a fallback. So in the meanwhile, the page is rendering some static content or other component, we will have a spinner, and when the data are fetched the server side, the component will be rendered. This is called a streamed render, and it's just like a streaming. The HTML is just a streaming HTML because the content arrives when it's ready. And this is the solution that Next uses to handle this scenario. And this is more or less what you will do, just wrapping some component with suspense, and we can have a single loader for every component. In the meanwhile, we can see static content, client components, and so on. I have 2 more stuff. This is 2 more questions. I said we can mix client component and server component together, but there are some rules and constraints. In fact, this was nice as a quiz. Probably now is not so cool, this example. Anyway, a server component can contain server component inside it. A server component can include client component. A client component can use other client component inside. This works just like a normal application, React application. And the last one is right. A client component can also accept, this is probably the weird one, a client component can accept a server component as a children prop. Let me show you a next diagram. This is how you can structure a Next application. For example, one root, one page could be completely static, text, image, static HTML content, and so on. Another leaf, this one, can have static component and server component, because probably this could be some text, static text, and this is a list of data that we fetch from server. Another page can have a mix of server component and client component. And this is an example where the client component receive a child receive a server component as a child. After this slide, I will show you an example. And the other part, another page can be completely client. So it's just a normal single page application as we usually did in React until last year. Just to show you this example, I want to show you how a server component can contain, this is a server component, can contain a client component, and another server component that is rendered on server is passed as a child of the client component. So this can be used inside client with props.children. This is very useful because you can have a client component, so this is interactive, but with some content rendered on server, so it's faster, SEO friendly, and so on. The last question is, what do you think? The context can be used in the next application to share the page, to share the state across the whole application? True? Raise your hand if you think it can be done. False? How can I say in English? Courage. They have no courage. Courage is brave. You are not brave. It's true or false? True? We can share. False? Okay. Anyway, you can do it. You can do it now. You have to define a context in the root level, and now you can use. You can share the state across the whole application. I also tried with Redux, and Zustand it works fine. In this case, I just created a context here, language context, that have a property language and a set language that update this value. The language context provider is a component that just set a state and pass it to the language context provider. And in the root layout that is provided by Next, is the root of the application, we can simply wrap all the application with the language context provider, and now your components can use context and get the value, and use context to read the context value and update it with set language. So you can use it just like a classic single page application. Anyway, I'm so sorry for all the problems. Thank you very much. I have a lot of gadget to give you, but if you want, in the break, we can do some small quiz that usually works. I don't know. Today, we can shoot some small context with 10, 15 people. I will give you. I have some books from publishing about React and Java, some gadget and other stuff that I want to give you. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for the technical problem.